I'm Chryssa. I'm from Greece, so we've heard some French accents, Spanish accents, Swedish accents. Now it's time for a Greek accent. And I'm representing a Danish company. We're based in Copenhagen, and as you said, we have an online platform with things to do all over Europe, and we're currently targeting Chinese and Korean-speaking audiences. Let me see. Perfect. So that's me, and that's our website. Feel free to follow us on Twitter, Snapchat. We are broadcasting this event. We have been super connected, tweeting about all of you. Before I go to the next slide, I want to explain how we are differentiating ourselves with Viator, for example, or Get Your Guide. We do have two things to do and activities, as I said, all over Europe. And we also have a co-planning tool called My Tourboks, where people can invite their friends and co-decide on the agenda of their trip. So it's more or less an interactive wish list where you can invite your friends, you can like or dislike the tour that your friend has picked. So this is the extra thing that we bring on the table, plus the fact that we are really targeting Asian audiences, as I said. And I think that's the reason why we're invited here. I'm obviously not Asian, now that this is established. So let's go to the next slide. Yes, Daniel, you also had something similar. I also have my selfie stick with me. This machine is definitely 2015 gadget. I've never taken a selfie before, ever, but my target group definitely is using one of those. They are FIT Asian tourists definitely are using the selfie sticks, and since we are all pretty tired, and since we are connected at Tourboks pretty much a lot, I thought that I owe it to my target group to have my first ever selfie with you, and instead of making a question and you raise your hands, I would like you to all raise your hands and say hello to Tourboks fans. So, on the count of 3, 1, I guess, 2, 3. Good. Now that this is out of the question, we can proceed. And I will explain you a little bit about Asia, what I've learned. And don't get me wrong, I don't know anything about Asia. I'm trying to learn. We've been live for the past 3 months. We've been existing as a company for 1 year. So I'm just sharing all the valuable information we've got to understand throughout this year. So more or less, Asia Pacific is a huge, huge market. I don't know if you know it, China and India is 1/3 of this planet. That being said, the potential is huge. They are starting to travel more and more and more. The numbers are increasing like crazy, and I'm not going to go into each and every figure here, but feel free to see them. Now, apart from the numbers that are huge, and apart from the fact that a lot of people in Asia are very much tech-savvy, they are spending very, very much. Chinese people are #1 spenders in the world right now, with 165 billion US in 2014. What's impressive is that there is a 30% increase from 2013. So if they continue like that, I think that, no offense to your question, if there is room for more, there is room for more players in the market. Now, Anna is not here from Google, I guess, but no offense to her. Google means almost nothing in some countries in Asia. In China, as probably you know, there is no Google, there is no Facebook, there is no Twitter. So how do we search? How does humanity search? Yes, Google is the leader, but in China we have Baidu, so if you are not on Baidu, you're no one. In Japan and Hong Kong, the leader is Yahoo. In Russia, we have Yandex. And in Korea, even if worldwide they're not big, but in Korea you have Naver. And that's what customers are using. So if you want to be found, you need to be there. Now, being social in Asia, as I mentioned, is also a different story. In China, they don't have Facebook and Twitter. They have Renren and Weibo, which are copies of Facebook and Twitter. Then in Korea, they have Naver Cafe, Naver Blog, and they use these main platforms to share. To chat, people are using messaging apps that are not like our Viber, let's say. They're much more interactive, and companies can have pages, actually, on these messaging platforms. And that's how people do marketing in Asia. And to watch videos in China, you don't have YouTube, obviously, since Google doesn't exist there. You have Youku, similarity there, and Tudu. So, a funny story is that when we built the website, we built it with Google Maps. Very clever, because when we went live, we realized that, oh my God, nobody can see our maps in China. We need to have Baidu maps, which, no offense to China, but they're awful, because you cannot zoom in very much, so there are a lot of challenges there, and you need to master all those things if you want to target Asia efficiently. So, what have we learned so far? Our Tourboxers, by Tourboxers customers, they find us while they are on destination. Again, we are live only for 3 months. We don't have enough data to show you big, impressive numbers, and but let's say with this data that we have, that's what we've learned. So they find us while on destination. We don't have a mobile app. We are building it now, but we have a responsive website. But still, they are finding us with their smartphones. So they're buying. The people that are buying tours and activities in advance or on the spot, on destination, is a 50-50 split so far, which is pretty interesting for us. 1/3 of our customers are finding us on mobile, but still they prefer buying on desktop. But we believe that this is also because we don't have an app. Maybe when the app will be ready, this will change a bit. 10% of our sales, and that's very impressive for us at least, come from our social media accounts, both Asian and non-Asian, because we have an English version of everything. Most of our customers are not solo travelers. They're traveling with both friends, family. And the majority of them have WeChat accounts. WeChat is one of the messaging apps that Chinese people really use. And not only they have WeChat accounts, but they have extreme demands like, if I'm going to this tour, I want a Chinese guide, and the Chinese guide needs to have a WeChat account, and I need to talk to him from now. And if you don't facilitate this need, they will go to our Chinese competitors. So, how do we become better? How do we target Asia according to our findings? So you need to think global, but you need to act local. You cannot target Asia with our Western tools. That's it. Study, study, study. As I said, I know nothing. That's my motto. We always need to try to understand. The cultural differences are huge. And when I say huge, I have been saying I will share a story, rather embarrassing. I have been, in the beginning of the project, we were going and have these super big meetings with important suppliers or partners, potential partners, and I have been saying that we will translate the website in Mandarin and Cantonese. I don't know if you understand how stupid this sounds, because Mandarin and Cantonese is actually spoken languages, not written languages. So I've been saying this with my very, we will translate the website in Mandarin and Cantonese. And I had my Chinese colleagues and next to me, and my colleague from Hong Kong, and they didn't say anything. They were like that. Nothing, ever. I've used this in more than 5-6 meetings, and suddenly, a very wise man, and I thank him for that, answered me that what I'm saying is stupid. And then I looked at my colleagues afterwards, and I was like, what are you doing? Why aren't you saving me? This is an example of how big the cultural difference is. I don't think that this would ever happen in a Western company, in a Western team. I think that we would speak up. We would say, come on, what are you doing? They don't. And it's not bad, but it's different. So you need to understand them. You need to understand how they think and how they act. I have millions of examples like that. Even on social media, customers are getting blocked when you suddenly speak to them as a company. A Westerner would appreciate that. A Chinese person or a Korean person maybe will think that that's too much. Who are you? Why are you talking to me? So study, study, study. Hire the right people. Pernille from SAS also, I think, mentioned that. You need to have the right people on board. They need to be connected as well. They need to be digital. Otherwise, how can you operate a website, let alone a startup? Then, yes, design features, products, and tours based on Asian needs. Chinese people don't eat cheese. One of the first things that I was saying in the beginning was, we should have local tours, cheese tours in France. And again, my Chinese team was like, and then I realized they don't have cheese in their supermarkets. Use QR codes and visual codes to action. QR codes in Europe maybe are pretty dead. In China, they're using them everywhere, mainly because of WeChat. Anyway, maybe Snapchat now will revive the idea of a QR code, but anyway, you need to use visual codes of action in Asia. They will ask you, why don't you have a QR code? I don't really understand why they are obsessed with them, but they are. Network. One of the common mistakes that people are making, I think, is focusing too much B2C. There is a very big potential B2B, and we should not forget that, yes, Asians seem very tech-savvy and everything looks great, but the internet penetration in China is still very, very low compared to USA or Europe. Go mobile. I think that I don't need to say further anything on that. And as I said before, get ready to play with messaging platforms such as WeChat. That's it. Thank you very much. I hope I wasn't very tiring.